that's gangster government in action. That's where you see a president and an administration that bullies people, that helps its friends, in Obama's own words, and punishes its enemies.
We're here with author David Freddoso of the new book, Gangster Government, former Human Events reporter, and now the online opinion editor at the Washington Examiner. Thanks for being here with us, David.
Thanks so much for having me.
You know, you hear the term gangster government and, you know, you think thugocracy, things like that. It's a pretty inflammatory term. You know, can you explain why you chose that as the title?
Sure. You know, I would say it's at least provocative, and it originated with my colleague at the Washington Examiner, Michael Barone, who's a well-known and respected political columnist. He noticed what was going on in the Chrysler bankruptcy, that the pinstriped thugs from the Obama Treasury Department went to the secured creditors of Chrysler and said, we're taking your property away, we're giving it to the United Auto Workers Union, and if you don't like it, we are going to use the White House as a platform to smear and vilify you. And it went so far, and that they did, and it went so far that President Obama actually gave a speech denouncing the secured creditors of Chrysler, denouncing business lenders at a time when our economy desperately needed business lenders. And that's gangster government in action. That's where you see a president and an administration that bullies people, that helps its friends, in Obama's own words, and punishes its enemies.
And you know, you hear about all of these instances of gangster government, paper, on news, things like that. You know, and people were fed up with, you know, the business as usual in Washington. And you've heard it before, not just with the Obama administration, past administrations, whether it be Republican or Democrat. What makes the Obama administration so much different and so much dangerous?
I think that, for one thing, you've never really seen, the problem is just so much worse in the Obama administration. It's as if 99% of his energy and attention is dedicated to, again, helping his friends and punishing his enemies. And that help for friends comes at the expense of all of us. There's very little concern for the common good, and where it needs to, the rule of law is just thrown right out the window. We saw that in the Chrysler bankruptcy. We're seeing it now as we go to war without even consulting Congress in Libya. I think when Ronald Reagan said that the bombing begins in 5 minutes, it was a joke, but that was almost literally what President Obama told top congressional leaders when he called them to tell them what he was about to do unilaterally in Libya. But this is an attitude and a mode of governance that Obama has brought to his entire presidency. And the reason, as I go in Chapter 1 of Gangster Government, I discuss his Chicago political roots. And the fact that politicians in Chicago generally believe they're above the law, and that this president is another Chicago politician, which is also a theme that back in 2008 I explored in The Case Against Barack Obama, another book about Obama that looked in detail at you know, how he had come up. He forged these unholy alliances with some of the most crooked politicians in Chicago. And for people to think that he was going to become president and, you know, it was all going to be unicorns and happy rainbows and sunshine was very naive. They should have probably, you know, given it a little more thought. But now we are seeing the Chicago way in the Oval Office and what that looks like with this administration.
And through your research for this book, what has been the most egregious instance of this thugocracy, this gangster government?
Yeah, well, it's almost hard to choose. I think that what they did to the secured creditors of Chrysler might be an easy contender for number one. The just sort of flagrant favors, changing, you know, that bankruptcy case overturned 100 years of bankruptcy law, according to a couple of very well-respected Ivy League professors who wrote in the Michigan Law Review. But you can look at other things as well. Just the favors to organized labor that have gone on from the Obama appointees changing the rules about elections, just blatantly, so that now, last week, we had a minority of the workers at AirTran forced 64% of the other 64% to join a union. Those sorts of changes that overturned 75 years of labor law. There's another one that overturned 45 years of labor law. We see those things going on. We saw with the stimulus package, and people have noticed, okay, a stimulus package, you're buying votes, that sort of thing, yes, but look a little deeper. This is a massive power grab. This is Obama using $1 trillion of taxpayers' money in order to reshape the economy the way he thinks it should be. And that's when he talks about what he thinks the jobs of the 21st century are going to be. That's gangster government in action. He's expanding his power. He's using your money to expand his power. The examples just keep coming and coming. Some of the appointees that he has put in are just blatantly trying to expand businesses' vulnerability to lawsuits to help another friend of Obama, the trial lawyers. We see these green bandits who are making out just so well with the stimulus subsidies for clean energy, high-speed rail. And you know, this is the president who comes in and says, hey, we won, you sit in the back seat. This is the other side of it too, that if you don't agree with Obama and you're not one of the 6.9% of workers and labor unions, you're kind of dead to him, if you want to use a gangster term here. This administration, again, helps its friends, punishes its enemies. It's a theme so common throughout. Another thing that comes to mind, the firing of the Inspector General of AmeriCorps because he was going after an Obama crony. You could sit here all day and discuss the many ways in which gangster government works, but for all the details, I would say just give the book a look.